Hi guys, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use authentication where you can set a username and password for the user to authenticate the user before you show them your application. So I'm going to create a single view application and click next, and I'm going to call this one authentication tutorial. And I'm not going to use a storyboard for this one, and I'm going to use automatic reference counting, and the devices will be iPhone. Create our project, and from there I'm going to have a view controller that's already created for me and a view controller zip file. So in my view controller zip file, I'm just going to make the background green just to show you that it got there, and my label, I'm just gonna make a little label for it saying I'm gonna call this my app. Alright, so when the login is successful, it should go to this screen right here, which is my app. Alright, and then our well, I guess we don't need to make any connections because I'm not going to do anything in the view controller. I just want to show you a page that will let you do the checking before you get to this screen. So to do that, there's a lot of ways to do it, a lot of different ways. So I'll show you one way where it's kind of like a username and password. So I'll show you a super simple one. There's a lot of different ways to do it. So go File, New, and we're going to create a new Objective-C class, and I'm going to call this one authentication view controller, and it'll be a subclass of UI view controller, and make sure to check this with zip for user interface so it creates a zip for you in addition to your header file and your implementation file. Make sure your target is selected and then create your new class. And in the zip file, I'm gonna have a text field. Alright, so the first text field will be for let's say set username. Well, I shouldn't do that there. I will do it in the placeholder text. There, set username, and a second text field. I'm just gonna call it, set the placeholder text saying set password, and I'm gonna have a round rect button to set the username and password. Set username and password. Alright, and I'm gonna have one more round rect button. I'm gonna say sign in. Alright, and then two more text field. Alright, so this is like a simple version. If you wanna do something similar in your app, you probably have to modify some stuff, but this will get you started in a good idea on what you have to do. Alright, okay, I'll change the background of this. I'll make this background red because we haven't went through yet. When you get through, you see the green background. Alright, so the idea behind this is that this will be your main screen when you come in. So you have an option of setting the username and password, and you set a username and you click this button and it'll set the username and password, and when you authenticate, you type the username and password and click sign in. If it doesn't match the username and password that you set, it won't let you through, but if it does, it will let you through to the next screen. So we'll do that right now. Alright, so again, we make our connections and control click drag this. I'm gonna call this set username text field. Type will be UI text field. Storage is weak. and do that for this one. I'm gonna call this set password text field. Type is UI text field. Storage is weak. And do this for the username. I'm gonna call this one username text field, and I'm gonna call this one password text field. Alright, so set your username and password. Control click drag that button on there, change our connection to an action, and I'm gonna call this set username and password button. Type is ID, event touch up inside, argument sender. Do the same thing for this button. Connection type connection will be an action. Name, I'm gonna call it sign in button. Type is ID, event touch up inside, argument sender. Okay, so I'm gonna save my zip. There's our header file, and here we can start doing stuff with our authentication view controller header file. Oh, let me go to my app delegate first, because right now it has it set to where the view controller is from the original view controller that it created for us. So I'm gonna comment it out because I don't want that to be my root view controller. I want my root view controller to be the first page, which is the authentication view controller. So I'm gonna do that by saying import authentication view controller.h, and in the did finish launching with options method, we're gonna create a pointer to an instance of authentication view controller. I'm gonna call it AVC equals authentication view controller alloc init, and I'm gonna say self.window.root view controller equals AVC. So that's our new root view controller. So when we launch the app, this will be the root view controller, the first screen that pops up. So when you're done with the authentication, later on you can, if you feel like it, you can change the root view controller in your app delegate to be like this one, for example. So that's up to you. But in this tutorial, we're not gonna do all that. We're just gonna keep this one as our root view controller, and when you sign on, it's gonna go through to this screen. And if it doesn't, then it'll just stay there. Alright, so now let's go back to our authentication view controller .m. So we'll start off by, I'm gonna do this with a simple file. You can store like the username and password in like a SQLite database, core data, files, like maybe a P list, like a lot of different ways to store it. I'm just gonna store it in a simple text file. I'm not even gonna encrypt my password or anything, just like a simple plain text. So do ns file manager, call it file manager, ns string, full path, ns file handle. I'm gonna call it file handle. Alright, so I need those three instance variables, and from there in my view did load method, I'm going to, here, let me comment, set up path and file name to store and read from. That's gonna be our text file that we refer to in order to authenticate the user. Alright, so we do that. We start off by doing ns array path equals ns search path for directories in domains, and the first argument is ns document directory not documentation directory. The second argument is ns user domain mask, expand tilde, yes. And then from there, ns string file path equals path object at index 0. Right? And then do file manager equals ns file manager default manager. And then from there, file handle equals ns file hand. Let me see what's wrong with this. File path. File path equals ns. Oh, sorry. That's not that. That's file manager. File manager equals ns file manager default manager. And file handle is ns file handle. File handle for, there's a couple options for reading or for writing or for updating. For updating, it'll allow you to do both reading and writing. So I'll just do for updating. Updating at path, and the path will be a file path that we've just created here, which is in our document directory. Okay, and from there, oh, actually, we need to we're not just gonna stay at that path because that's just the path to the document directory. So we're gonna say file path string by appending path path component. So we give our file name. I'm gonna call it my super secret key.text. Alright, so that's where the file handle is gonna go to the document path / my super secret key.text. And then from there, file manager, change current directory path to our file path, and then do full path equals ns string with format, and it will be the same thing as before, which is file path string by appending path component, and the same name that we just gave it right here, my super secret key.text. My super secret key.txt. Okay, so now we have just set our full path, which is a ns string. So now we know where we're gonna put our file and where we're gonna read from. So now we know how to get there. So that's all we need for our view did load. And then there's two main buttons that we need to look at. The first one, let's do the set the username and password button first. So we do that. I create a Boolean variable called file exists. I just want to do a test if the file exists. With ns file manager default manager, file exists at path. It returns a Boolean, and the path we just set it right now, which is our full path. So we're checking our full path to see if the file, my super secret key.text already exists in our app document directory. So it returns a bool in a file exists. So I can say if not file exists. So we're checking if it doesn't exist, then we can create it. So we say file manager create file at path, and the path is full path, content is nil, attributes nil. So there we've created a file, and now we have to set the username and password. So I do this by saying ns string username and password string Probably not the best way to do it, but just to like a quick and dirty way. And a string with format, and then so I'm going to alright, so the 2%@ are objects. So the first one is going to be the string of username, and the second %@ is going to be for the password, and I'm going to separate it with the new line character, with the enter, with the /n. So when you have your file, it's just going to show a username on one line and a password on the other line. And then the arguments that we pass it will be self.set username text field .text and self.set password text field .text. Alright, so now we have our username and password set in the format of username, new line, password, and that is stored right now in the username and password string. And from there, I'm gonna say file handle equals ns file handle for updating a path, and the path will be full path. And then I do ns data, and then I'm gonna have a const char pointer to a byte. I'm gonna call it bytes of username equals, no, not bytes of username. I'm just gonna call it bytes of username and password, because both the username and password is stored in this one string right here, equals username and password string UTF-8 string. So from there it converts our string into a const char pointer, and now this string, ns string, is sent the message of UTF-8 string, and it converts it to a const char pointer called bytes of username and password. And from there I do data equals ns data with bytes, and data with bytes, it will be bytes of username and password, and the length will be the string length strlen of the bytes of username and password. Okay, and there I do data write to file, and the file will be at full path atomically, yes. And we can have a little alert view letting you know that that you've already wrote the file. UI alert view alert equals UI alert view alloc init with title. Title will be wrote. Title will be done setting username and password. That will be my title. Message will be completed. Alright, delegate nil. We don't do anything. Cancel button nil. Other button, I'll just have an OK button that the user can click on. And from there we just show our alert show. Okay, so before we move on to the checking part, let's just make sure that this is working. Why is it giving me one error? This path. Oh, I don't need this here. Okay, now should be no issues. Good. Run that on my iPhone simulator, and let's see. So this is not checking or anything yet. It's just setting the username and password for for our app. So okay, make the screen a little brighter. Oops, that's my keyboard. Okay. Alright. Here's our app. Okay. So let's say set username. I'm gonna call this ABC capital, set password DEF lowercase, and click on set username and password, and it sets it, and the alert view saying done setting username and password with my OK button. And here we go to our Finder, go to our go to our library, and then go to your application support, and then go to your iPhone simulator. I'm using a 6.0 simulator. And then go to your applications, and these are your the applications that we have, and our app was called authentication tutorial. So then look in our document, and there's our file that was created, my super secret key.txt. You can double click to open it, or it also shows you right here in the okay. So here's my super secret key.txt. The username was ABC, and it adds a new line, and the password is DEF. So okay, so it's successful in setting. And the thing with this app, the way I wrote it is that you can only have one, but you can find ways of modifying that later. So let's say I change the username to ABCD and password to DEFG, set the username and password. Now we again we look at our Finder. See, the name got changed to ABCD, the password got changed to DEFG. Alright, so that's it for the setting part, and now we'll do the sign in part. So sign in, again we're gonna do similar to check if the file exists. Bool file exists equals ns file manager default manager file exists that path, and the path we haven't changed it, so it's still full path, which is our document directory / my super secret key.txt. So again I check if not file exists, so that if the file doesn't exist we can give an alert view to the user that they haven't checked that they haven't set the username and password. Alert equals UI alert view alec init with title haven't set username and password. Message please set username and password. Delegate nil, cancel button nil, other button okay. Oops. Alright. And from there we've already we have to show our alert show. Okay, so that's if the file doesn't exist. Otherwise we just do it else file handle equals ns file handle for updating a path, and the path is full path, and then actually, you know what, in this tutorial let's keep that for now. ns file handle do it ns. Actually, for this one I'm not gonna use ns data. ns data I'm using it to convert into bytes and then to write, but to read it I'm just gonna use convert it directly to ns string. string from file equals NSString string with content of file, and then choose string with content of file. I'll choose this one. And the file is at full path. Encoding is gonna be NS ASCII string encoding error nil. Alright, so now we read the file and we stored all of the text information in the string from file in a string. And to make sure of that, we can do an nslog statement really quick. Nslog string from file. I just want to make sure that it gets read from the string from file. Okay. When the sign in button gets pressed. So right now, when I press the sign in button, it should show us the username and password. Okay, ABCD, new line, DEFG. Alright, so that's good. And then from there, I can remove my nslog statement because that was to only show you that the file got read. And then from there, we do NSString actually I'll do a const char pointer char chars from file equals string from file UTF-8 string. Again, I'm making this string into a const char pointer, and then I do NSString username from file. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to use these variables, username from file, let me see, username from file, and a string alloc init, and I'm gonna parse the characters that I've read from the files until I see the new line character, and then I'm gonna put the characters in username from file, and when I see the new line character, I'm gonna put it in the other one called password from file equals in a string alloc init. Alright, so this is kind of a weird way of doing it, but it works, and this is going more towards like the C style, not so much Objective-C. So I do a for int I equals 0, I less than string length strlen of chars from file, increment I++. The statement is going to be so first I'm going to check for the new line. So if chars from file at position I is equals to the new line character, then we're going to increment our count. So right now the count is at 0, so I can do a else if count equals 0, else, alright. So else if count is equals to 0, I'm just gonna make a comment. Append characters to username from file, or else we're gonna append characters to password from file. Okay, so we're just gonna append to either this one or this one, and we're just checking to see when the character reaches a new line. Alright, so if the count is 0, we do username from file equals username from file string by appending string, and the argument would be NSString string with format, and the format for character is %C. Chars from file at position I. Alright, so now we're going through each character. We're checking for a new line. If it's not a new line, we check if the count is 0, and if the count is still 0, it should add the characters from file at position I right here into our username from file. And from there, when it reads a new line, the count becomes 1, so it doesn't go into the else if count is 0 anymore, so it goes in here. So we're just gonna set our password in here. Password from file equals password from file string by appending string, argument is ns string with format, again the same thing, %c for the character format, so char from files I, and that sets our password from file. So now our username from file and password from file has been set in this loop, in this for loop, and from there we can come out and we can do the check. So if username from file is the one that we've just extracted from the file, if username from file is equal to string, and the string is going to be self.username text field dot text, so that is self.username text field dot text is this one right here. So it's comparing whether this name that's been entered will be the same as the one in the file when we press the sign in button. So we check that, and we have to check for the password from file also has to be is equals to string. The string that we're gonna compare it to is gonna be called not password from file. What did I call this? self.password text field dot text. So we're comparing two things: the username from the file to the username text field, and the password from file to the password name text field. And then we can say so here, if it passes, if they both match, then we can import a view controller. Import view controller.h. Then we can say we can create a pointer to an instance of view controller. View controller alloc init, and then we can do self present view controller vc animated yes, completion nil. Or else we can show another alert saying the username and password doesn't match. So do a UI alert view alert equals UI alert view alloc init with title. Title will be mismatch, and message will be username or password is incorrect. Delegate nil, cancel button nil, other button the OK button, and close off my Xcode doesn't like to add that brackets for me, and then show my alert. Alert show, and that should be it. So let's run it on our iPhone simulator and see if that works. Okay. So right now in our file, we have a username of ABCD, password of DEFG. So in our simulator, we can do a sign in. So it's mismatched. Username and password is incorrect. Okay, because we haven't did anything. So let's do ABCD, password DEFG. Do a sign in, and it brings us to our main page, which is our view controller. Because here we've done the checking. If it's equals, if the username from file is equals to username text field and the password from file is equal to the password text field, and it's gonna present the view controller. And we can go back and we can relaunch it. Oh, let me relaunch this again. Okay, because I haven't done any pop yet. Actually, I'll just do the pop right here really quick. So view did load, do touches began, super touches began. So this is only to pop it back to our authentication view controller. So I'm doing this in the view controller. I'm just gonna say self dismiss view controller animated yes, completion nil. So when you start touching the second screen, it's gonna pop it back to the root view controller right now, which is the authentication view controller. So again, we do ABCD, password DEFG, sign in, okay, touch, it pops you back there. Alright, now let's check a wrong password. ABCD, AB, sign in, mismatch. Or we can set a new username and password. Do a YOU PASS, UPass, say set username and password, alert view saying done setting username and password. Check our file there, UPass all lowercase. Again, we can check ABCD, DEFG, no longer signs you in. The new name is, well, we can clear this because we don't need it anymore. Now we can say U, password is DEFG, mismatch. Let's see, it doesn't do capitals either. Pass, mismatch, do PASS, do a sign in, and then there, it signs you in. And I think, let me see if I can show you one more thing. I think we can change a password type. So I click on my password and let's look at a keyboard style. Keyboard, ASCII keyboard numbers, password keyboard. No? Oops. Password keyboard. Let me see if I can set the thing so that like it puts a little star to hide your password, like in most of the apps they do. So I think I can do that in my view did load. So I'll do that by saying self dot password text view dot keyboard keyboard type equals set keyboard type UI keyboard type let me see, maybe it's UI keyboard appearance. UI keyboard appearance. Alert, info key. Type email. Key set keyboard type. UI keyboard type. Phone, Twitter URL. alphabet ASCII decimal default. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is right now, but I'm sure if we do some Google search or something, it'll find it. But what I was trying to do was just trying to set the keyboard right here, so that when you actually type something, it actually turns it into like the little dots that hide your text for you. But I can't recall off the top of my head right now like how to do that. But in this tutorial, I think we've accomplished what we wanted to do, which is we set a username and we stored it into our file. We stored it into a file and we did the check right here to see if it matches whatever was in our file. Then we let the user through to our next view. So alright, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye. Okay, a little add-on from our last tutorial. So we had to set the password text field. So just say self.password text field dot secure text entry equals yes, and when we run our app, that's gonna hide our text from the keyboard. So last time was UPASS. Do a sign in. There, it hides all the password now. Alright, so that's a little thing from the end. Again, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.